you could say that in the billiard table of philosophy there are only two pockets, sort of positive and the negative. And in philosophy, all kinds of people who belong to the negative side don't really believe that, how shall I put it, that the human will serves any purpose whatever. In other words, it seems to me that in philosophy you've got people who believe that to a large extent will really matters, and that we human beings have a certain control over our own lives. And people who belong to the other side, and basically there he goes on these, because it seems to me that what has happened, as I say there, is we've drifted very slowly into a sort of thoroughgoing materialism that sees nothing beyond it. Well, it's not that I object to materialism on some kind of vaguely, moral or religious grounds. I object to it simply because it seems to me fundamentally untrue that if you leave out of account something very important about human beings and what life is all about, then you're simply, in a way, going to leave yourself without motivation. See, what I'm trying to say is that we don't have just one kind of perception, immediacy perception, which sort of shows you things close up like a microscope. We have another kind of perception which you could call meaning perception, and which just somehow shows you things from a distance. Actually, in psychology, it's called Gestalt perception. The reason, that you would recognize a face, and that even a baby can recognize its mother's face, is simply because it's recognizing it as a whole. It's not focusing on single parts of the face and so on. So, but what I'm saying is that when we're in a good state, these two beams of perception come together. And when they come together, you suddenly get this curious sense of, meaning and so on. Now, it seems to me that if you ignore that, you're going to get a completely false view of the world. Yeah, the two beams are in fact these two beams of perception of the right and the left brain. And the thing is that because, as I'm now speaking to you, I'm aware of me as a personality, so to speak, and interacting with your personality, it means that I'm aware of my left brain and your left brain, so to speak. Whereas, if, for example, we were both thoroughly drunk and engaged in a sort of, riotous discussion in a pub, then, you suddenly find all kinds of other things floating up to the surface, all kinds of other intuitions and so on, which actually come from the other side of your brain, which come from the right side. And, you see, all poets, all artists, are entirely reliant upon this right side. And I've always known this since I was fairly young. Because when you start out as a writer, you find that, you get what seems to you a brilliant idea, you get it down onto the paper and you think, that was bloody good. Then you read it next morning and it's dissolved off the page. Just turned into a sort of nasty, sticky mess. And it happens again and again and again. But if you keep persisting at it and trying to turn things into words, one day you suddenly realise that you've got good at it, and that what you were trying to say is still there on the page the next morning. And then you realise that what you've done is to focus these two parts of you. And I've compared it, to two lumberjacks at either end of a double-handed saw, or two tennis players getting more and more excited and batted back and forth until, there's a perfect sort of rapport between the two of them. And that's really what it's all about. Well, that state, I suppose, is really called inspiration in a way. And what I'm saying is that when you get into this state, you get an odd feeling, a kind of bird's eye view of the world, rather than a worm's eye view, rather than seeing things, fragmentary and little by little. And so, what we obviously aim for is this bird's eye view. Is something that human beings want absolutely fundamentally. course, that's so you can get drunk and take drugs and all kinds of other things. They simply want to achieve this bird's eye view rather than a bird's eye view.